Okay, so this is my second attempt at a YouTube video, and I apologize if it causes you to suffer. I just made another video which is probably going to end up being too long, but it is what it is. I don't know how I'm going to edit it at this point. I'm making this one literally 2 minutes after that one. So, and this is really the reason I wanted to start doing videos. I've gotten so much help from people watching videos, finding things on the internet, solving problems, figuring out new skills, how to do things, that when I finally had an idea that I wasn't sure that anyone else had, I thought, hey, well, why don't I contribute something to this online TR6 knowledge base, or whatever you want to call it. Maybe I can contribute something to the discussion, and I'm sure there will be, if anybody ends up watching this video, I'm sure that there will be people who call me a moron and an idiot and I don't know what I'm doing, because even if I did, that's just kind of what the internet's all about, right? And YouTube and Facebook and all that kind of stuff. So here's the deal. Here's my beautiful Triumph that I've put together. I don't know if you can, so there it is. Okay, if you watched my video before, you know all about this car at this point, except I didn't go into detail about the clutch. Yes, those of you who have TR6s, I would be willing to bet most of you have had some kind of clutch headaches. If you're one of the lucky ones, I congratulate you. I'm not one of the lucky ones, and I've had multiple issues. I had already dealt with some hydraulic issues with the clutch, and I bought some cheap parts and they failed, and that was the first one. Brakes and hydraulics, brakes and clutch hydraulics definitely don't get cheap parts. Okay, so I learned my lesson on that. In fact, pretty much anything, don't get cheap parts, because you're going to regret it and you're going to end up spending more in the long run, and you're going to end up spending more time too. So so now that I've learned my lesson, I'm gonna take that lesson and I'm gonna go a little further with it. So hydraulics have been an issue. The clutch itself has been an issue. Okay, I got the clutch replaced. I think it's okay. But I can tell, even though I've replaced the master cylinder and the slave cylinder for the clutch a couple of times in the line, and I've done flushes and all that kind of stuff, it always seems to get air in the line again. I figured out, I think what's been going on has been, if you let out the clutch too fast, it will actually suck air in past the seal in the master cylinder, and I think that's what's been going on. So since then, I've been letting off the clutch very slowly, probably borderline riding the clutch. But since I've slowed down with the release of the clutch, it's been a lot better. I haven't really had to do anything. And then even now, though, I'm starting to. I'm still driving it the same way, but I'm starting to feel that air coming back in the line. And I've tried to tighten everything down, and I still think it's getting in past that master cylinder seal. So I thought, okay, well, I've already replaced this stuff. I've tried to use good parts, and I do the gurling and all that kind of stuff that you usually get from the catalogs, the main suppliers. But then I thought, well, why don't I go outside of the usual vendors, see if I can come up with something else? Who's a pretty good brand, pretty good reputation for hydraulic stuff? And so I started looking online, seeing what I could find. Is there any kind of alternative that I can find to the gurling stuff? And then I found something that looks very promising. Okay, so let me show you what I'm talking about. Aha! Willwood. Yes, Willwood makes basically, I think, a copy of the gurling. I did a 3/4 inch. I don't want to mess around. I want as much travel. I want to take out all the slop and the linkage. I am just so tired of dealing with this clutch. So I figure Willwood, they're fairly well respected as far as I can tell. So I went ahead and I got this. Now, but the problem is, now I did want to get an adjustable master cylinder push rod. I know that the thing that you always see everywhere is the adjustable slave cylinder push rod, and I'm not sure exactly why people do that. Thinking about it, theoretically, it really shouldn't have any kind of real effect on the clutch action, putting an adjustable rod on the slave cylinder. But I think if you put one on the master, you could at least take out some of the slop that might be existent in the clutch pedal mechanism. And I'm sure there are people who say, well, you just need to fix that. You need to fix that clutch pedal. You need to fix it right. Okay, yeah. Well, I don't think mine is really got a lot of slop in it, but I'm serious about this. I want to get rid of every last bit of whatever. I want this clutch to, when it releases, I want it to release. So, now the problem is with this, I was like, oh, this is so cool, I'll put this in. The problem is, I think this is going to be too long. Okay, so I got one of these deals here, and I was going to put it on here. Okay, this, now if I just put it on there, that's going to be way too long. So my first thought with making this, what I did was I cut an original master cylinder push rod that I had, and I cut it and I threaded it, but even using these parts, I still think it might be just a touch long. I'm not really sure. But I want it to have more adjustability either way. But the problem is, this is too long. I don't really want to start taking all that apart and everything, but I want to leave the Willwood stuff as it is. I don't want to screw with that at all, honestly. I don't want to screw with this boot, or however this is attached in there. I don't want to mess with any of that stuff. So, what's another solution for that? Well, I started looking at how the brake is attached, and it's put on this aluminum spacer. Well, gee whiz. Okay, could I do something like that for the clutch? So I hopped on probably Amazon or eBay or somewhere, and I bought a chunk of aluminum. This is actually not cut off a different piece. This is, I just ordered this size, and I got a chunk of aluminum in the mail. And you can see I have drilled out some holes in it, took some measurements, drilled some holes. It's not the most beautiful thing in the world, but I don't really care that much as long as it's functional. So my idea, this is the thing that I haven't really seen anybody do before. I think this is a 1/2 inch spacer, so I'm gonna put that spacer on there, and then I think if I put that on there now, that may or may not give me, I'll figure out, I may have to do some other things, but or I have to use this one. I'm not really sure how this is going to work. We'll find out, but I think the spacer is going to help. And I didn't go with the usual slave cylinder either. This is, it looked a little funny to me when I saw it and I got it. It kind of looks like a questionable something or other, but I guess this is actually supposed to be a pretty good brand. I looked into it. I guess they sell some pretty good stuff. So I'm going to replace everything again. Master cylinder, slave cylinder. And this time I'm going the extra step, and I'm replacing that plastic clutch line, that red plastic clutch line. I'm getting serious. Like I said, I want to take out every last bit of slop I can, and I'm going to replace it with this stainless steel clutch line. I think I got that. Did I get that from British Parts Northwest, maybe? So that's the plan, or most of it. I kind of actually forgot exactly what I was going to do here, but I'll figure it out. So that's the deal, and I'll go ahead and I'll put this stuff on and see if it works. Okay, so now I think I know why the experts were probably calling me idiots as I was going through my plan. So I've learned a couple things as I've gone through removing the old system. The first thing was the reason it wouldn't work. Okay, I was mistaken about how the clutch pedal worked, and putting an adjustment on the end of the push rod really won't affect the amount of play in the system. Okay, so well that's kind of pointless. The only thing it might affect is how high up the clutch pedal is, and I'm fine with where the clutch pedal is. The other issue is that, okay, even if I put it together how I was thinking about doing it, I guess my little 1/2-inch spacer wouldn't have been enough anyway. I lined it up basically how it would have to be, and you can see that the threads, there's not enough threads. I'd have to put more threads in there and probably cut it, or even if I got another one of these, I'd have to cut the end off of this push rod. So I'm feeling a bit defeated right now, but I think what I might do is I might try to switch the push rods. So take the push rod off of this one, or if I have another one, I'll do that. I gotta finish taking this boot off and see how this push rod is put into the master cylinder. Maybe I can just swap that right over. And the other thing is, I guess I have to figure out whether or not I'm going to pursue trying to fix the hole in the clutch pedal. It's not horrible, but I know that can really amplify problems in the system. So I don't know. I'm going to have to think about this a little bit. I suspect that I'm just going to let that clutch pedal do what it's going to do. Okay, so this is plan B. I have the Willwood master cylinder attached with the old TRW push rod, and it fit pretty well. They were these the endings, the ends of the push rods are very similar. This one had a circlip instead of this, but yeah, once I think the hardest part was just putting this boot on here, with trying to get it off of the middle here with the washer and the end of the push rod. But it's on there pretty well now. I think that'll prevent any leaks getting in the carpet. So onward and upward. Okay, so I found the next problem. Gee whiz, I thought I'd checked all this, but apparently not. The threads here, the threads are too large. They should be about this size. I don't know if you can actually see that, but so that's not gonna go there. My goodness, this is just, this is not as simple as I thought it would be. Here's one more thing to think about. So that's the big obstacle for right now. So I guess I'm gonna have to decide what to do about it. The first thing I thought is maybe I could put some kind of coupler in there, but if I do that, that's probably just gonna raise this up even further, and this doesn't make me comfortable. This is just seems like a nice place for air to hang out, and so I don't know if I'm gonna have to get a new line. Oh, sorry. Woo. I can't get this how I want it. Yeah, so there we are. Okay, so I don't know if I can get this how I want it. I don't have any kind of flaring tools, and I'm not sure if this seems like I read somewhere this requires some kind of special flaring tool or something, but I guess the other option would be to cut this off and put a new fitting, put a new compression deal on here, and that would actually accomplish a couple things, I guess. I could put this closer, not so much of an arc here, and it would actually fit. So maybe that's what I need to do. Does that mean I need to invest in a flaring tool, I guess? Well, I'll figure it out, I guess. I don't really want to go backwards on this. All right, so next problem to solve. Okay, so it's been about a week now, and I took several days trying to figure out how I was going to deal with this clutch situation and the lines and all this. And you know, I started looking in. I thought I had a pretty good idea what I was going to do. But if there's one thing that this car has taught me over the past couple of years, is that nothing is easy on this car. My original plan was to try to adapt the lines that were already in the car to the components that I'm using now, and the master cylinder specifically. Well, I got online, I started looking for the parts that I needed and some adapters and things, but that proved to be a lot tougher than I thought. I was trying to find a 3/8 inch fitting that would accommodate a 1/4 inch line like the original one that's in the car. I don't think anyone makes that. I imagine it would be too weak if somebody actually sold one of those. It wouldn't be very strong. I wrestled with it for several days trying to figure out how I was going to make this work. I was like, okay, well, I can get some different tubing and all this, and I looking up all the types of flares are the British bubble flare versus the SAE and all the ISO, all this kind of stuff. And of course, everything on this car was made to an obsolete standard, and you can't find certain things anymore. You have to kind of adapt and adjust. And okay, well, I finally decided, you know what, I am just going to start from scratch. My solution is not going to be terribly expensive, but let me show you what I got. Instead of trying to flare hard lines and all this kind of stuff, that would have been ideal to have lots of hard line, because I didn't want the flexibility, the possible expansion of a soft line like with the vinyl or whatever that plastic was that originally came on the car. So I went to AN fittings, -4. So, and the cool thing about the AN fittings is you can find pretty much anything to adapt anything. So out of the master cylinder, I'm gonna just I'm going to use the 3/8 inch. I'm going to use one of these 3/8 inch fittings, and it's going to adapt it to -4. Okay, and then right out of that, I'm going to take the 90-degree elbow -4, and then we're going to go to the line here. I'm going to use that up top, and then that'll go back toward the bottom. Now I'm hoping this stainless, braided stainless, will keep it from expanding very much, so I won't lose too much, even though I don't have a hard line. Okay, and then I'm going to need another adapter, I think, the -4 going back into the 7/16 of the slave cylinder. So I don't really know. I mean, I don't see why this shouldn't work, but I've been there before. So in fact, just doing this, I've been there several times. So I am going to try to assemble all these pieces and put them in the car, and then hopefully it will work. The other thing about it is I did check the clutch pedal again and the pivot. It's actually, there's not really a lot of play there, so I'm pretty satisfied with that. So I'm just going to go ahead and do this, and maybe the updated or the improved AN fittings, they're supposed to be reusable, and they won't leak if you disassemble and reassemble them, like I guess a lot of the bubble fittings will do. So maybe this can prevent some leaks and maybe guard against air getting in the line again. So we'll find out. I'll let you know how it goes. Okay, so I've got it all hooked up. Sure looks pretty, huh? I've also bled the system at this point, and I meant to show you the bleeder that I use. I have the speed bleeders for the clutch and the brakes. This is just a regular bleeder, of course, but the other one has like a check valve in it, and so it makes one person bleeding a whole lot easier. Anyway, I was going to share that with you, and so I think I've got the thing pretty well bled at this point. The pedal feels pretty firm so far, so I guess I'm going to go ahead and get the orange beast out of the way there and take it for a test drive. Okay, so I took it for a drive, pretty good one. I'm cautiously optimistic, man. What a difference it made since I put the new stuff on and I bled the clutch. I wasn't used to it. At first I was riding the clutch because the engagement point was so much further up. When I started, it was getting closer and closer to the floor. I'd say, at least for a while, it was, maybe at the end too, it was probably about 40% or so away from the floor. Since I changed all the stuff. Now, when I got back, now it feels great. The pedal very firm and shifts pretty well. The only thing that has me a little concerned was when I got it home, I was just checking under. I could feel just a little bit of dampness around the bleeder screw. So I'm not sure if that's just some brake fluid that I didn't quite get with the paper towel before I left, or if that was leaking as I was driving. So the verdict is still a little bit out, but I'll tell you, so far it feels way better. And part of it might be, if there is a leak, it could be that I used the bleeder screw. I had that speed bleeder from the last slave cylinder that I was using, and I transferred it to the new one. So that's a possibility. I'm sure somebody will tell me, maybe, if anyone ever watches this. Now, I did notice something. I'm going to show you something interesting here. Okay, so this was the slave cylinder that I took off the car. You know, I'm trying to get pretty good parts. I had the master and the slave cylinder were both the TRW, which I thought was supposed to be a pretty good brand. But when I took this off, I noticed a lot of black junk in there. Now, to me, with my untrained eyes, I'm thinking that is actually the seal. Okay, and that's where the air's been getting in. I don't know what else that might be. Could it possibly be grease of some kind that's hardened up? I don't know, but I suspect that that's the seal, and that's why I was having some problems. So why would that be? The stuff that I'm using is I'm using the Castrol .4. That's all I've been using in it. Again, I thought that's what I should use, but maybe I'm missing something. Again, my old slave cylinder, TRW. So anyway, I'm cautiously optimistic, but we'll see. We'll see. I had fun driving this thing again, though, I'll tell you that much. There you go. I went ahead and I replaced those parts. I hadn't seen anyone ever use those parts before. Maybe there's a lot of people that use them. Maybe there's a reason they don't use them. I've been trying to find the best quality parts that I can when the usual ones didn't seem to work. I'm trying some experiments with some other type brands. Maybe I caused the issue. It's kind of looked like that was the seal in there. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe somebody will watch this someday and tell me, no, that's absolutely not what it is. So, I don't know. I hope you enjoyed the video. Maybe you learned something. Maybe what you learned was what a moron I am. Could be. But tell me what you think. Tell me what you think about this video. It'd be nice if you said nice stuff, but you know, whatever. And what the heck? Maybe I might make another one of these one day. But hope you enjoyed.